Hey, Coach Cruisers, welcome back. Well, anyway, I don't have. John Heald has some very, very big news, and he gives you some specifics on something you probably have already heard, but he goes into detail about the requirements that are going to be asked of unvaccinated cruisers that are going to be welcomed back to Carnival Cruise Line starting September 6th. He also gives details on what vaccinated cruisers can expect, whether things have changed for them in terms of testing. Now, there is also something that John is very, very upset about, and he addresses that in the second part of the video. I won't share what that is. I'll save that for John himself to share with you. Before we get to John, though, I would like to ask you, if you're not already a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button right now, and especially that like button if you're not going to hit the subscribe button, but also hit the notification bell after you've hit the subscribe button so you can get videos like this anytime and every time I put them out. So without any further ado, after this short break, we are going to get right into Mr. John Heald himself.
I just can't get away from a good time.
Cruising the next couple of weeks, but from September the 6th and onwards, we are instigating the following. So if you're vaccinated and fully vaccinated, just to go over this again, fully vaccinated means you've had both shots of the vaccine, or if you have had the one shot of the Johnson & Johnson. So if you're vaccinated, guests must continue to provide evidence of their vaccination status prior to embarkation. Pre-cruise testing, though, is no longer required unless your cruise goes to Canada, Bermuda, Greece, and Australia. Those are the guidelines following on from the requirements necessary and required by the governments of those places. So just to recap that again, if you're fully vaccinated, pre-cruise testing is no longer required from September the 6th, except for guests who are sailing to Canada, to Bermuda, Greece, and Australia, and on voyages of 16 days or longer. Now remember, prior to this, we'd already said that if you're cruising on cruises of 5 days or less and you're fully vaccinated, there is no test either. But that's great news. So from September 6th, with the exception of Canada, Bermuda, Greece, and Australia, we do not need you to take a test if you're fully vaccinated. Now, we also, of course, have to say welcome back to those unvaccinated guests who are now welcome to sail and who do not need a letter from us of vaccine exemption, except for cruises in Australia or on voyages of 16 days or longer. So let me say that again. If you are not vaccinated and you are not cruising to Australia or on one of our few 16-day cruises or longer, you do not need to apply for a letter of vaccination. Come back to that in a moment. So those unvaccinated guests, those of you who do not provide, you don't have proof of that you've been vaccinated, you will still need to take a PCR or an antigen test 3 days before the cruise. So very simply put, in the most basic terms, everybody can cruise from September 6th. If you're fully vaccinated, you've had the 2 vaccination shots, not the booster unless we specifically tell you a booster is required. You no longer need to take a test except for those places that I've mentioned. And unvaccinated guests, again, you will be able to cruise, but we do require you to take a test at this time 3 days before the cruise itself. Now, we have been saying all along that from the last 2 years, things are going to change. And there could be changes to this again, right? What I'm saying now could change in a few weeks, and maybe the unvaccinated guests don't need to take a test. But at the moment they do. And if anything changes, I will, of course, let you know. Roberta wrote to me and said, no masks, and no people with no vaccine, yet you will insist on all of us who have refused to have the vaccine wear wristbands to show that. Is this Nazi Germany or a fun ship? Another person, John, I just read on a webpage that Carnival will start giving out ribbons at check-in that indicate your vaccination status, blue for vaccinated and red for not. You will be required to wear them to enter the ship and any venue on the ship. Is this true? Let me answer this in the most professional way I can. To the people putting this on their YouTube sites and web pages, please stop. I don't know where you've plucked that from, what part of the sky. It's nonsense. We're not going to make you wear wristbands and show you who's vaccinated and who's not. That's not happening. So please, I urge you, I beg you, have fun, be safe. Website on carnival.com. Ask me and I will give you the correct answer.
All right, cruisers. So I think that's pretty good news for everybody, especially if you are a Carnival cruiser. John got very specific on what would be required of vaccinated and unvaccinated cruisers. For vaccinated cruisers, the one big perk that we have going forward is we're not going to be required to test before cruising. And that was one of our biggest fears, right? We had everything all lined up. We had our travel plans set up. We had our bags packed. We had everything ready to go, but we had to take that test. And if that test did not show the result we wanted, if it showed a positive, that was a big, big negative for us, because that meant that we weren't going to be cruising. Now we don't have to face that fear anymore if you're vaccinated. So that is a big, big perk for vaccinated cruisers. And those that were unvaccinated, well, you have to test. But hey, we've been doing that all along, and for the most part, it usually comes out pretty clean, and you get to cruise and you get to have a great time, like those of us that have been vaccinated have had the past year. So welcome back, all of you that are unvaccinated, and I'm sure you're going to have an awesome time on your next cruise. And before you go, let me just remind you one more time, if you've heard the video all the way to the end here, I'm sure you got something out of it. So please hit that like button. And I hope that you choose to hit the subscribe button also if you're not already a subscriber, and hit the notification bell as well, so you can get videos like this one and many others I do on a whole range of cruise related topics. So it was great having you here today, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Take care.
I just can't get away from a good time.